I want to talk a little bit more about last night's heel turn from John Cena and kind of break down some of the intricacies of it because, I was talking yesterday about how I put a video out on January 9th before even the Royal Rumble when the story had gotten out that they're going to do Cena and Cody at WrestleMania, or at least that was the plan, that the match would not work effectively because of the way that the landscape of the business is right now. And to elaborate a bit more on that, the face versus face Cena versus Cody match, I think the match itself could have been good. It's not about the talent, it's more so about the perception of the fans. Nobody wants to boo John Cena on a retirement tour, right? Because now he's actually, all these years that John Cena was an active like wrestler when he was the guy from 2005, 2004 even, all the way to like 2014, 2015, and a little bit of 2016, 2017. I mean, he was still in the thick of things, but he might not have been the guy at the time, but he was the guy for many of those years. People wanted him to turn heel, and the fans booed him a lot. I mean, historically, if you've been following, like the thing about this is, if you started watching wrestling in the past 5, maybe even the past 10 years, this turn is not going to resonate with you. And I am going to talk about the Hulk Hogan Bash at the Beach turn momentarily because I want to compare the two. But, Cena was coming back as like this Babe Ruth figure, getting his one last chance in the sun. But at the same time, you've got a guy, Cody Rhodes, who, for better or for worse, because of all of the bad booking decisions and all of the damage that, was done for years from Vince McMahon, Cody Rhodes coming into WWE was a breath of fresh air because Cody was the first babyface that organically got over. People love Cody. And Cody now is doing all the same things that Cena did, doing the Make-A-Wish stuff, very charitable man, good to the fans, and he's a genuine babyface. Like he is like his father was many of those years. Like he's not an anti-hero babyface like a Steve Austin, even though he does have an edge to him. And he's not like a babyface super underdog. I mean, he's an underdog, but not like a super underdog like a Daniel Bryan. He's sort of harkens back to what baby faces used to be when his father was wrestling. And in many ways, Cody became the new John Cena for this generation of wrestling fans. Now, I've been watching the business since 1989. I've seen a lot. And I just figured in my head, like, it's going to confuse the fans. So I thought the only way to actually make it work is, wouldn't it be something if Cena's last run, he finally did turn heel? Because the reasons as to why Cena did not turn heel during those peak years is because of all the merchandise he sold. That's been reported and it's been confirmed by several people. Cena was selling so much merch and was like the guy who was making the company so much money and doing so much as a charitable champion that WWE rationalized it in their head that they could not turn him, even though there were different points where they had discussed possibly turning him. They didn't do it. And now I'm actually glad they didn't. Now, Cena, obviously in this era, part-time guy, hasn't really won a match in a long time. It would just not make any sense to have Cody Rhodes, the man who slayed the dragon that is Roman Reigns, who was champion for 4 years, the man who has been champion for a year, lose to a guy who's going to beat him clean in the middle, 1, 2, 3 with an FU or attitude adjustment, whatever. Like, to me, that would hurt Cody. And if Cena loses to Cody, then it would have been a situation where it would have kind of been bittersweet because, the show would not have had a very satisfying ending, talking about WrestleMania. So, the decision that they made to do the turn prior to WrestleMania, because I thought the way they could have done it is done the turn at WrestleMania, like WrestleMania 17 with Steve Austin. And like I said earlier, the difference between the Austin turn and the Cena turn is that when Austin turned, he was still insanely popular. And it's not that like Cena wasn't popular now, but they did not need Cena as a merch mover anymore. That wasn't his forte. He obviously still moved merch, but you've got guys now like Cody, you've got Roman, you've got Jey Uso, you've got a lot of guys moving. Penta is now moving a ton of merchandise. So the time to turn, to no pun intended, but if you're going to turn John Cena, the time is now. You understand what I'm saying? And on a farewell tour, it's something that's unexpected, but also a treat, especially for those who wanted to see Cena turn, those who enjoyed Final Boss Rock, and those who wanted the match to be freshened up. I'm not against doing certain babyface versus babyface matches. I just didn't think that this one in particular would have worked with the current wrestling landscape. So them turning John Cena heel last night was ultimately a very smart move. And like I said in my review last night, I still think the Rock storyline had issues because we never actually saw Cena and the Rock reconcile. That happened off screen. And they figured out a way to kind of weave it in, but it could have been executed better. I said that in my review last night. But, The Rock being the guy behind the turn is actually, there's deep layers going on here. And like I said, if you haven't been watching the product for the past 20 years, if you're a newer fan or somebody who fell off and came back, you miss the Cena era and you miss sort of what he went through as a babyface. And you also missed the fact that for about 3 years, 2.5 years, The Rock and Cena were rivals and they had a feud. I was at the Rock and John Cena match at WrestleMania in Miami. So, it was a big WrestleMania main event. So there's history there. But the final boss Rock coming back and being all nice to Cody was all really just a setup. The Rock is still salty that Cody screwed him out of his title match with Roman Reigns. Now, obviously, we know that's not really what happened, but from The Rock's perspective as a character, right, in universe, he feels like Cody screwed him. And he didn't get to wrestle his cousin at WrestleMania like he wanted to. So he's still mad at Cody. And what happened last year was just the beginning. And ultimately, The Rock did tell Cody that after WrestleMania, you might be done with Roman, but you're not done with me. Now, Rock not wrestling this year hurt WrestleMania in my eyes. However, what they're doing here may have actually been in some ways more interesting, or in some ways the best thing they could have done if Rock couldn't actually wrestle. You know what I mean? Hulk Hogan was the first babyface of the Vince McMahon era. And I'm talking about Vince Jr., not Sr., because Bob Backlund became champion originally under Vince Sr. But Hulk Hogan was the first sort of, good guy, say your prayers, eat your vitamins, icon of the 80s. I know folks don't like him now, but if you know the history, you know Hulk Hogan is a big deal. And when he turned at Bash at the Beach, if Hogan didn't have all those years on top as a babyface, the turn wouldn't have meant anything. This is going to be remembered as a very historic evening in wrestling, talking about Elimination Chamber last night. But I'm not sure if it'll be, and there's going to be fans that are going to say, oh, it's bigger than Hogan. I don't think so, because when Hogan went heel and kicked off the NWO storyline, that literally changed the business forever. Like, literally, the effects of that are still being felt today. We would not have live Monday Night Raw every week if it wasn't for that, because of various factors having to do with the Monday Night War. So Hogan turning heel actually changed the business in ways that we're still feeling now. I don't think Cena turning heel will accomplish something like that because we live in a different time period than we did in 1996. I was 12 years old watching Hulk Hogan turn heel. I got the VHS tape that I recorded from pay-per-view. I lived it. And it was a massive deal and a massive shock. With this is the closest they've come to that. I'm not going to say it's bigger, but this could be seen as the Hulk Hogan Bash at the Beach 96 modern version, okay? I'm not saying it's as big because we can't look at what happened with the business and the magnitude of what Hogan did and compare it to this because, again, the business is different now. It's in a different place. But we certainly can talk about the fact that had Cena turned heel at any point prior to the Elimination Chamber 2025 pay-per-view, this would not have been that effective. So in some ways, it was almost worth John Cena staying as a babyface all those years for it to have really, really hit home. I was watching the pay-per-view with people who, a couple of them, like a couple of my friends still watched like every show, and a couple of them were coming back who hadn't been watching in a while. And we had to kind of explain to them, like, Vince McMahon is gone, Triple H is the booker now, Paul Heyman works with Triple H, Road Dogg, Michael Hayes, you know, kind of how things have changed. Because he didn't know. He didn't have all the intricacies. But he was very surprised to hear the word pro wrestling. He was surprised to see blood. And he was surprised that, of all people, Cody Rhodes is the first guy to ever say the F-bomb on WWE television ever, to where it was part of the angle. I'm not counting like when people accidentally cussed or they cuss in the ring or something like that. I'm talking about that was a part of the story. Triple H said in the post-show scrum that he wanted them to kind of lay back and let it play out uncensored. So Cody straight up said the F-bomb. That's historic. This company's been in business 60, 70 years, going all the way back to Jess McMahon, and the F-bomb has not been used till now. And that was the first big shocker. Now, where do we go from here? Well, I'm looking forward to hearing from Cody Rhodes and from John Cena. And Cena, I don't know when he's going to come back, because Rock said he's going to go back to Africa, which is going to probably give him more heat because people want him around, and now he's a heel, so they can be mad that he's not around, even though they want you to be mad at John Cena. But, you know, whenever he comes back and he cuts a promo on Cody, we're going to have to see, like, why he did it and what the story is. Now, obviously, the story is exactly what I told you on January 9th. John Cena has not won a match in, almost 3,000 days. He's over the hill. He's past his prime, with respect. He can't beat a young prime Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes has beaten everyone they put against him, from Gunther to Kevin Owens to AJ Styles to Roman Reigns at WrestleMania last year. So Cena can't overthrow this guy, so he has to sell out to The Rock to do it. It is somewhat like the Austin turn, except they did it a month earlier and not at the height where they needed Cena. Whereas in 2001, when Steve Austin was still very popular, people criticized that turn, including Austin himself at WrestleMania 17, even though it was historic. So I still would say that this turn was more shocking than even that one, just because, I mean, that one was shocking, don't get me wrong, and The Rock was involved in that one too, but this was a bit closer to the Bash at the Beach because of the fact that Austin came into WWF as a heel in 95. It wasn't like Cena, who was a heel in like 03 WWF, or WWE, I'm sorry, but then when he turned babyface in 04, he stayed a face all the way until last night. So that's the effectiveness of why. This is why back in the day in pro wrestling, in the territory days, you rarely got heel turns and face turns. And when you did, they were a big deal because they spared them. They were spared. They were rare. They were sparse. So what I think I'm looking forward to is not just John Cena's promo, but also Cody's promo, because The angle they shot last night with the blood and with Travis Scott, Cena, and Rock laying out Cody, right? Continuing the Rock Cody feud. And I'm gonna go into more of that here in just a minute, but just bear with me. I want to hear Cody's promo because that was a very Dusty Rhodes like angle. And Dusty Rhodes has been involved in lots of huge angles throughout the years where, in order for him to sell the match, he's had to cut some of the best promos in the history of his ever. Like, it's Dusty Rhodes, man. And Cody's going to have to channel his father and cut a very passionate promo on John Cena. Obviously, John Cena is going to get revealed as being a coward because he knows he can't beat Cody Rhodes and he wants to get that 17th championship, which was foreshadowed at the scrum last year when he said it's what's best for business. And that was the line that the Authority used to use 10 years ago. Remember that? So I think that Cena and Cody's verbal jousting is going to be really interesting because, as you know, John Cena is dangerous on the mic. John Cena's promos with The Rock, Roman Reigns, The Miz, AJ Styles, he is capable of dismantling people. And he has to be very careful here because he's going to be a heel. Not to mention, Cena has not worked heel since 2003. And because of that, he's going to have to change, not entirely change his moveset, but change it somewhat. And it's going to be very, very interesting to see how he wrestles now as a heel. So I do think that John Cena should beat Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania and get the 17th title. Not clean. Not clean. The Rock has to help him. It has to be a situation where they have to kill Cody. Like, they have to beat him, hit him with everything, and he keeps kicking out. Like, they have to, and then eventually he just can't anymore. And then what you can do, this is what gets me excited, is after WrestleMania, business will actually be booming again because we're going to have a situation, we're going to have a heel John Cena, and think about the potential matches and guys that are going to be chasing him. So Cena will have to be chased by both Cody and Roman Reigns because obviously that's a match they have in their back pocket. CM Punk might want a shot at John Cena. Randy Orton might want a shot at John Cena since he's a face. Jey Uso. There's a lot of guys. Sami Zayn. There's a lot of guys who they can potentially line up against John Cena for the whole summer for him to take on. I do think that eventually Cody should get the title back. And it may actually, one of the things they could do, which was recommended to me by a friend, is this whole thing could end in December if they want to push it back that far with an I Quit match. And Cena quits. And that's how he leaves the company. Or if they don't want to do that, they can turn him babyface again after he loses to Cody Rhodes. Then Rock turns on him. However, if Roman Reigns is going to feud with Cena, that could easily continue the build-up to the Roman Reigns Rock match that they've wanted to do now like every other year, dude. They could do that because if Cena's going to be Rock's champion and then Rock's got his cousin trying to dethrone his champion, you know what I mean? Like, that could sort of, if they weave it right, that could lead to the Roman Rock match the following year. So there's a lot of potential. We've also got maybe even LA Knight against John Cena. We could even see another Ray John Cena match. They had good chemistry. Lots of fresh matches, too, they could throw in there as well. Priest against John Cena would be a new match. Lots of guys. There's lots of talent. So this is a very exciting time. They made the right move last night. I was wrong to question Rock. Well, I wasn't wrong. I had my reasons to question Rock and Triple H because these two guys really understand what the wrestling business used to be prior to Vince McMahon mucking the waters up. And they really understand what the business was and how to tap into that but still bring it into the modern day. We can't go back entirely to territorial wrestling, but having three guys lay out a white meat babyface who's bleeding, that's territorial wrestling. I mean, that's like Ole Anderson and the Assassins when they turned on Dusty in the Omni in 1980, and the whole crowd, people were trying to jump over the cage because they were so mad. This isn't quite to that level because nobody tries to jump in the ring anymore because everybody knows the work, but it's a similar type of story. You know what I mean? Not identical, but similar. So let me know your comments on this whole thing. I got more videos coming up. I got to talk about Kathy Kennedy not retiring, and I got to see if I can get Daredevil season 3 done. But let me know what you think, man. I'm actually excited and I'm happy. I want to like wrestling. I don't want to hate it. And even Tony Khan has to be, he does not like WWE. That's not even everybody knows that. And I know he was watching because he loves wrestling. Even he would have to admit that was good. He has to. He has to, or else he's lying to himself. He has to admit that it was well done. Anyways, man, that's it for me. Take care.